Hey everybody, Coach Sean. Inside this video, I'm going to share how I personally have used food pairing and food combining to control insulin and reduce my overall daily calorie intake. Now, for over 20 years, I've used two rules that I want to share inside this video. And I also want to share the number one fat storing food combination that I always avoid. And I'm very confident you're going to learn something new in this video and it's going to serve you very well. So if you get something out of it, do me a favor, like it and share it. Before I start though, I want to preface this by talking about Quest, which is C-W-E-S-P. It's like going on a quest, just spelled differently. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I know the trolls and the haters are going to come in. They're going to say, this is all bullshit. It's garbage. You just need to be in a calorie deficit, which is true. It goes back to Quest. Calorie deficit, C, W for adequate water, E for strength training, which is adequate exercise, adequate sleep, and adequate protein. You have to have those in place. Otherwise, the outcome is not going to be affected by the mechanisms that I'm going to share inside this video. So I know all these trolls and haters out there are typically under 40 years old, so they have no clue about the aging metabolism hormones, and they typically have a penis. So they don't have a vagina, they don't understand menopause or women's hormones. So I want to get that out of the way. You must have Quest in place, but let's talk about these two rules because I think it will really help you. And my macro types are over here. I have P for protein, I have S for starch, F for fruit, and O for oil or fat. Now, before I dive into the number one combination of food you should avoid and how I strategically pair and combine foods to keep my body in more of a fat-burning environment, I want to talk quickly about how our body utilizes macronutrients. I'm going to dumb it down and keep it kindergarten first base by saying that protein is just much harder to store as fat, and it's much easier to store fat as fat, and then it's much easier to store starches and sugars as fat. And with that out of the way, understanding that will help you understand why I follow these two rules. Now, the second thing to understand before I talk about these two rules is the calorie content of each macronutrient. So protein, starches, and fruits only yield 4 calories per gram. Oils and fats yield 9 calories per gram. This is why I personally am consciously aware of fat intake. I don't care how healthy and how friendly the fats are. If you're snacking on nuts or seeds all day long or off and on, or you're pouring too much oil on a salad, or you're putting too much butter on your vegetables, at the end of the day, you are consuming 300, 400, 500, 600 more calories than you should. So it's a little hinge over time that can move a very big door to be consciously aware of your fat intake. Now, the number one food combination that I personally go out of my way to avoid, unless I'm cheating or on a vacation or on a diet break, is starches and fats together and fruits and fats together. And the reason why is because sugars and starches raise insulin higher and faster than other foods. Now your storage hormone in your system is very high. And so if you eat a lot of fat in that meal, that fat is present in the bloodstream, making it much easier for your body to store that fat because of insulin being elevated. So starches and fats and fruits and fats do equal more potential fat storage. And that's why I follow these two rules. When fats are up, my carbs are down. When my carbs are up, my fats are down. So fats up, carbs down, carbs up, fats down. Protein always in every single meal, no matter what. So I put the green and the red on the combinations that I personally use. Whenever I'm having a protein and a starch together, I avoid fats. So protein starches are fine. Protein starches and veggies are fine. Whenever I have a protein and a fruit together, I keep fats lower. So protein and fruit is fine. Protein, fruit, and veggie is fine. Whenever I have a high fat meal with protein always, right? Protein and fat, and then of course, veggies. And I'm talking about cruciferous veggies, which aren't really carbohydrates. They're very low in carbs and very high in fiber. So they're not gonna impact insulin like starches and fruits are. So the ones that I avoid, obviously, are protein, starches, and fats, and proteins and fruits and fats. Now, some people are gonna say, well, this is bullshit. You're saying that I can't have nut butters with my fruit? Well, yeah, you can have that if this is in place. If you have Quest in place, you can go ahead and have nut butters with fruit. That's fine. Just keep in mind, nut butter is shitty protein. So you should definitely add protein to that meal if you're gonna have nut butters with fruit. And I recommend you stick to 1 tablespoon of nut butter and not 2, because then you just doubled your fat and your calorie content from the fat in that meal. And then add a protein shake on the side, or maybe some Greek yogurt or some cottage cheese. So here's a couple other examples of foods and the way that I combine my foods to help me keep my body in more of a fat burning environment and reduce my overall calorie intake. So if I'm gonna have a starch in a meal, like rice, beans, potato varieties, yams, sweet potatoes, any type of starch, I'm gonna pick the filet over the ribeye for two reasons. Number one, the fat content in the filet is about a third of the ribeye. So now the starches that raises that insulin, there's much less fat present in the bloodstream to eliminate this potential fat storage. And number two, the filet is gonna have about 400 to 450 calories. The ribeye is gonna have 11, 12, 1300 calories. So I've automatically reduced my calorie intake by 600, 700 calories just by picking the leaner cut. It's the same thing with poultry. So chicken breast, turkey breast versus thighs or legs. And then of course, egg yolks are the one exception to the rule. Because I always get this question about egg yolks. Like, well, what about egg yolks? Those have a lot of fat in them. And I just think it's a superfood and it really doesn't matter. And I don't think egg yolks are gonna increase your fat storage overall. And in fact, there's a study, and I'll try to reference it. Maybe I'll put an image on the screen here if I can find it, where they took weight trainers and in the post-workout window, they gave them either egg whites or egg yolks. And the group of weight trainers that took the egg yolks or ate the egg yolks actually gained more muscle. And I think it was about like maybe a 12 to a 16-week study. I'm not 100% sure, but just know that I personally think egg yolks are the exception to the rule. So always remember, fat's up, carbs down. Carbs up, fat's down. If you got something out of this, like it and share it, drop a comment if you have questions. And of course, time, our most precious commodity. Always grateful when people take time to watch my video. Thanks for watching and keep going strong.